In this video, we're going to be talking about a Reddit post that was recently published talking about a man who went from welfare to making $1 million in a year and now has a net worth of about $1 million at the age of 31. Incredible story, and I wanted to kind of reflect on it and give some pros, cons, feedback, and just thoughts on the whole discussion. So a very inspiring story. Basically, this was posted on the subreddit FATFIRE, which is apparently a new subreddit that first time I've heard of it, and it's another one of these financial independence, retire early type of communities. And so that's this acronym, FIRE, Financial Independence, Retire Early. And I think with this one, I've checked out a lot of their posts before making this video, and it seems like a lot of it's focused on just really just taking a job that you don't really like, that pays a lot of money, and then just pushing through it until you've saved up enough to retire. And maybe that's wrong. Maybe that's just a lot of the top posts. I went and sorted by top upvoted by all time. Maybe that's just what bubbled to the top. But hopefully I hope they don't always follow this philosophy. But here's the story. This man had a son at 18 years old. He was on welfare, spent the next 5 years grinding through community college and then a tier 2 state university. He made $15K a year going to college via the Pell Grant and other low-income financial aid as a single parent. Eternally grateful for his own parents and the government for giving him the ability to focus on school and graduate instead of worrying about paying rent. So later on in this post, he really kind of gives props to the government for helping. So that's really cool. And I know there's a lot of young high school kids watching this who really watch my stuff just to learn how to get better grades in school. But I figured let's look a little bit further down the road because maybe this might help you out in some way in the future. So, let's say you don't even do well in school, there's still a chance that you could turn your life around like this guy. Now, he had a whole kid he was raising from 21 to 26. Think about that. This guy's patient. He doesn't need to be some rock star in his early 20s. Most people are way too impatient. So from 21 to 26, he joined a startup, 25K salary. And then after car insurance, child support, he came out with 50K in savings, which I think is pretty darn good given, all the crap he has to go through. And he developed a real scarcity mindset, grinding cold calling with every customer. Now, I've said this many times, and I'll say it again. A lot of millionaires are salespeople. It's just something I discovered after reading countless books by millionaires on wealth and financial freedom. It just so happens to be a skill that if you get really good at, you can sell things that give you a really big commission and make a lot of money. Now, of course, still follow your passion. That's going to be a theme throughout this talk, but we'll get to that. From 26 to 31, he joined a rocket ship startup. Now, this one he doesn't name, but a lot of these stories on here are of people who have joined tech startups. And once again, I want to emphasize, follow your passion, not just the money. But long story short, this thing really just shot up. Initially, he was just doing his thing at this place, and he had that scarcity mentality. It was a great company, great product, and with a lot of luck and that mindset, his earnings took off. 100K in 6 months, 250K the next year, $500,000 the following year, then 300K, and then he cracked $917,000 in 2019. And he saved and invested most of his commissions. As a result, he has about 360K in savings, 300K in home equity, 200K in taxable accounts, and 150K in retirement accounts. Now, you would think you would have a lot more than that with 917,000 in just 1 year. But if I were to just make some assumptions, taxes take out a lot of that. I mean, you're going to pay a lot just to the government off taxes, off most of your salary earnings, which sucks, but it's part of the process. And so I'm assuming he didn't just blow a lot of it. I hope he didn't. I think I'm going to trust his word, and he said he saved most of it. I really hope he did. But it seems like, yeah, taxes probably took out a lot, which is why he's basically sitting at almost $1 million, which is probably less than you would think. Like, I mean, he's made like basically $2 million, a bit more than 2 million with all this. Let's see, the 350K, 850K, 1.15K, yeah, about 2 mil. Probably maybe even half of that was taken out from taxes. I'm assuming he probably did splurge a bit more. I mean, it still doesn't completely add up depending on your tax bracket. So, you know, I would understand a bit of that. It's human nature to just splurge all your money when you all of a sudden make all of it and you come from a scarcity mindset. So that's something you got to look out for. When he said that, although he used it as a benefit, I could also see it as a double-edged sword. A lot of times when people starve, when they get a lot of food, they binge. So that's not what you want to do here. And I think he did save a lot. He made some crappy investments along the way, which is possibly why he lost some of it. Lost 50K into 2 funds and some type of multi-family syndication scam. But now he's trying to invest equally in real estate and index funds to grow even further. I think he's well on his way. Really, the core of all this was that skill set of selling applied to a product company that rocks. Now he's got the experience. I mean, you can't take that away from anyone. That's why Warren Buffett says the best investment you can make is in yourself. You know, inflation can come and go, but once you have that skill, that's a desirable quality. I dug into the comments a bit just to see, like, what is this guy actually do? And usually they're very mysterious about that, but he did seem to let it slip that he was some type of enterprise software salesperson who makes 6 figures, about 120K in base, and then the same amount in potential commissions per year, if not more. So he's basically saying, you know, he's currently in this golden handcuff situation. He's not really phrasing it as something that he's really worried about. In fact, a lot of the posts in the subreddit, they seem to just prefer living in these golden handcuffs. And that's something that's against my philosophy. I don't think it's right. I think once you've made a certain amount, especially given the situation, passion always matters more. But you know, I can see where he's coming from with the scarcity mindset, and it's rather unfortunate, but he's basically saying that he can't get off this rocket ship. He wants to, but when you're making so much, $500,000 a year, even if you hate it, even if it's draining, and apparently from what I hear, this guy's, you know, putting in 70 hours a week, somewhere around there. He just doesn't think it's possible to do anything, even if he wants to take a vacation. He says his plan is to maybe do this for another 2 years before the rocket ship ends. I assume that means like maybe the company is going to pay less, or the growth is going to falter, and then he's going to transition into something that's more of a intermediate, which I think is a good move. So he's thinking Microsoft, because those numbers were his Microsoft quote. He was looking at this Microsoft Azure Enterprise position where it was that 120K base, 120K commissions, and you have a much better work-life balance. So, you know, as Ramit Sethi says in his Dream Job course that I took, you have different seasons in life. The growth season, which he was on, and then the lifestyle season. And you can't do both at the same time. So he's now going to, or in 2 years, he's going to transition into the lifestyle season. I simply want to end by kind of bringing up some points of discussion around the passion that I keep mentioning throughout this video. Especially when I found out about this subreddit and I read some of the comments, you know, it definitely got me thinking about personal finance. And I think one of the things that I thought of is, first, oh yeah, I forgot, Reddit can be pretty nasty. There's a lot of snarky anonymous comments. But that's neither here nor there, just a random thought. 2, Reddit can be very useful, and they gave informative stories like this. And I truly believe that passion is something that many people underway. I'm not saying you should just completely pursue passion and the money will always follow. Of course, there's some middle ground sometimes, depending on your situation and your unique predicament. That being said, I definitely frown upon a lot of the stories I saw on this subreddit, which were these people who are making multiple six figures, who have made $1 million. Some of them through luck by investing in crypto or some lottery ticket. Others through just their own work ethic and being in the right place and time and developing a good skill. But unfortunately, what ends up happening is these people often have the same question. It's a question, a common question and predicament that I've come across for years and years and years when studying successful people. And I use that in quotes, successful, because on paper they're successful in terms of money, but when you read their book and you read their mistakes and regrets, you learn that a lot of them stuck in this miserable job because they couldn't walk away from the money. And that's one of those things that is the worst way to just get dragged down into mediocrity. Doing something you hate, doing something that drains you, doing something that takes up all of your time just because it's giving you a number in the bank account that's much, much higher than your peers or any other reference point. What are you even going to do with that if you can't even spend it because you're working all the time? And sure, maybe one day in your 40s or 50s that'll work. But I do think that for most people, there's, if you work for it, there's some intermediary where you can at least enjoy your job to an extent most of the time, and you make, plenty of money. It's not easy. In fact, it's really difficult. But I think in the long run, you'll be happier in summation and on average over some of these situations, because oftentimes these people, they don't work out the math and they just have some random number in their head that they think they need to become rich. And when you study these lifestyle hackers, these lifestyle designers like Tim Ferriss, no, instead what they do is they map it out with math. They say, okay, what's my dream life look like? How much is that going to cost? They tally all the real expenses and they figure out, oh, that's going to cost $14,000 a month. Well, all of a sudden you get a legitimate number, which is usually much lower than you're aiming for. And, that's something you hit. Maybe that's $125K a year rather than these crazy amounts, $700K. And, the end result is basically hating your life for the first half of your life and then maybe enjoying it, or enjoying it throughout the whole process, maybe making a little bit less, but, spending it more productively throughout and being able to enjoy your life inside and outside of work. So just food for thought. I definitely saw a lot of these stories in here, questions that really kind of broke my heart a little bit, because it's a lot of these golden handcuff situations. So thanks for watching. See you guys later. Maybe it will spark some thought yourself.